Now, back to our lead story. And I thought Jonathan Ayling was absolutely excellent on this morning. The revelation from newsroom boss Mark Jennings and founder and editor that senior members, editorial members of a number of news organisations considered simply banning coverage of Deputy Prime Minister Winston Peters' criticism of them to try and make it go away, and criticism of them for taking bribes from the government, which they did, in return for signing away editorial independence, which they did. These aren't speculations, these are facts. The documents exist. The money has already changed hands. You note that this story has not been covered in the mainstream media, and they're in a bit of a cleft stick here. They either cover the claims against them, which means everyone knows they're true, or they don't cover the claims against them, which proves that the stories are true anyway. So they're stuck between a rock and a jolly hard place. Great thing about the platform being the country's only uncancelable media organisation is we can cover everything. And we can cover the stories that others don't, and we can ask the questions that others don't. And I went to the Prime Minister's press conference yesterday, and I asked the question that mainstream media had agreed not to ask.
Raised it. Are you concerned at all that a senior editor of Newsroom has gone on the record on Radio New Zealand saying that senior editors from across a range of legacy media have informally discussed the idea of, for instance, simply refusing to report your Deputy Prime Minister because they didn't like what he was saying?
Well, look, what I'd say is that media has a very important role in our democracy, and I think if media feels that it's losing trust with the New Zealand people, that's something that obviously the industry should face up to and think about. I mean, with respect to...
Do you think that sort of discussion embodies trust?
Well, again, that's something for the media industry and outlets themselves to come together and actually say, is that driving a plurality of voices and media voices in the country? But that is not something. That is something that you as media operators and spokespeople should be thinking about. What I'd just say to you is Winston Peters' views are long held, and he has complete freedom to express them as he wishes.
Prime Minister.
There we go, which was a very subtle way. And I've got to say, Luxo is growing in confidence. Read between the lines. He was saying, well, this is why fewer and fewer people trust the mainstream media, down to 42% and falling at the last count, and this won't help. And he was basically saying they should think about why people don't trust them when they pull stuff like this. As I said, I think it is a chilling story, and, you know, they've got a lot of thinking to do as to why more and more of you listen to an outfit like the platform. But I guess at the centre of all this, and we'll get him on the line now, Ben, or is he? Oh, he's there. Is he there? He's joining by video link. So we're waiting for Winston Peters to join us by video link. And of course, that question asked at a press conference yesterday, no coverage of that. No coverage of that whatsoever from the mainstream media, because of course they don't want to cover this story. What we did have was stuff running something about Rabbit Hole Radio this morning. So they're going, look over there. Look over there at what an absolutely fringe media organisation is doing. But let's not talk about the fact that we're getting together, and Jonathan Ayling put it well, the elitism of them deciding what is relevant to the public and not, without actually listening to the public about it. And I think Luxon was making the point, unless they clean up their act, public confidence in the media is going to fall even further. But joining us now, and I take it he's linked up and he can hear us all right and we're all ready to go, is the Deputy Prime Minister, the man at the centre of what, I don't know, I call it Editorgate or Mediagate. The Deputy Prime Minister, Winston Peters. Mr. Peters, good morning. Welcome to the platform. Nice to have you with us.
Good morning.
Were you surprised at the, I thought, rather unself-aware admission made by Mark Jennings in a taxpayer-funded podcast in a co-production with a taxpayer-funded radio station? Were you surprised when he admitted that these sort of discussions take place?
Well, first of all, I was Mr. Mark Jennings, who I had watched over a long career, and I believe was a very credible media personality, had, because of financial circumstances with respect to his outfit, sunk to that level. I was really surprised. And I was shocked because it was him in particular. And I knew when he was running Television 3 and other things in the past, a different person, so to speak. But no, when you talk about the content of what he was saying in collusion alongside others, no, I wasn't surprised, because it's not the first time it's happened to me, where they've got together in former times and said, look, and at the very beginning of New Zealand First, I remember there was a meeting of senior media ownership, and they agreed that what they should do was just treat everything I said as being risable. Quotes, right? Risable.
When was that?
They've just scoffed at it. Pardon?
When was that? And what media were involved?
993, 996, in that period there.
Yeah.
Go back, you will see it. I mean, I got off the stage of launching New Zealand First in 993 to be confronted by a journalist demanding, from the New Zealand Herald, demanding that I show him our manifesto. No party at that time in the year had a manifesto out for the 93 election, but I was meant to have one right there and right then, and I thought, we're not going to get a fair go.
I think I was there, Winston, and you had whipped the crowd into such frenzy that I was getting assaulted by people with Zimmer frames.
Yeah, it's that kind of comment, you see. It's that kind of comment. Hey, just attacking people because they're dark or they're aged or they're qualified or they're not a part of the woke, new, emerging society.
Yeah.
I know what you're saying, but when you say, was I surprised? No, I wasn't.
Yeah.
Because I was pointing it out. Look, we went in the campaign in 2023 being absolutely utterly ignored. We were packing halls everywhere. No journalists there at all.
Yeah, and that's what I want to really come to. Do you think, and this is obviously this meeting or series of discussions, and I'd love to know who the other news organisations were and who the other senior editorial staff were, but Mr. Jennings will not front for an interview. Can I assure you the platform was not amongst this group of people, and we're not part of whatever club that is. But do you think that, in fact, during the 2023 election campaign, there had been other discussions about New Zealand First in which they decided to give you minimal or no media coverage?
All the evidence says that. We had over 751 people in town, not one journalist. We were packing the place out everywhere and no journalists at all. And I was saying so. And that's why we were going on the social media, because it was the only platform we had. And that's by the fact that
there were other places.
Say, when we got to a certain stage where the polls were way over saying that we were coming back, and then the narrative Europe called, and this is what stalls the campaign, they started saying, why isn't he ruling him out? And constantly the attack was on Lux, and why isn't he ruling him out? Now, what on earth would that have to do with a campaign when in the end it's what the people decide at election night with their independent democratic vote, who are there in what numbers to form the next government? But all the sort of the simplicity and transparency of democracy has gone flying out the window, and sadly at that. But the point is, here's Mr. Jennings saying now, there wasn't a meeting. Well, I didn't say there was. What we said was that there was clearly an attempt.
Well, he told us there was a lot of discussion. I think that was the term, a lot of talk amongst senior editorial people from his own mouth.
That's right.
He's said on Twitter, oh, come on, mate, it wasn't that serious. That's been his only response to you. Is that sufficient?
Well, first of all, Mr. Jennings, I'm not your mate, right? I'm not, with no disrespect, but I'm not your mate. So don't think that now you could come at me that way when you know that you're deeply, deeply troubled by the allegations which are factual. You and your colleagues took a bribe. You took money. In the case of newsroom that you work for, over 2 million. NZME, 6.8 million. RNZ, 5.8 million. And Stuff, 4.8 million. This outfit that was bought for $1 took 4.8 million, and the head of it appeared at a select committee talking about the majesty of democracy and the transparency of the independence of the media. This is a joke. And I'm saying it not in an attack against the media, because I made a speech a long time ago about the importance of the Fourth Estate, how it was being starved the resource of money to do their job and the time to do their job properly. And I'm not against the media, but what we've got at the moment now is a critical part of any democracy, of any society that believes in liberty and freedom, which is now collapsing around us, and we have to be all worried.